Hey guys, Apple recently blocked social media tracking and went into war with Facebook. And it was a great move, but with this new child safety feature, they kinda blew it.
New controversy over Apple's latest software update, Neural Match. The program, scheduled for rollout later this year, will scan U.S. iPhones for images of child sex abuse.
Apple plan to scan iPhone images raises fears over bulk surveillance. Apple intends to install software on iPhones sold in the United States to scan for child abuse imagery, raising alarm that the move could open the door to surveillance of millions of personal devices.
Before we move on, I must say I understand parents' concerns and how they might find this effective way to protect their kids. And kids should not be exposed to sexually explicit content, ever. So, starting next month, Apple will automatically scan all the photos stored on your iPhone in search for abuse imagery involving minors. For now, this system will be implemented just in the US. For now. And this comes from the company whose one of the main features is privacy and is one of the core values of Apple.
Why don't you mind your own business?
How this feature works, you might ask. First, Messages app pop-up warning anytime child tries to send or view an image they think is not appropriate. If the child chooses to tap on a text, Messages will pop up a warning screen pointing out to potential danger associated with images. And if the child chooses to view the image, a second warning screen will pop up informing the child that if they choose to view the photo, their parents will be notified. And people ignore warnings all the time, especially the children. They often have a reckless curiosity. And there are some abusive parents out there who want to further control children and exposing them to further abuse. I mean, if you really think about it, there could be a number of scenarios where this could go wrong. There could be terrible consequences. Let's see some reactions from Apple's subreddit, which has more than 2.6 million members owning Apple devices. How much do we trust our law enforcement agencies to always act in good faith and for the betterment of everyone, and not in self-interest? That's the problem with this. Everyone remembers how Patriot Act passed under the facade of protecting American security against terrorists. This is another thing that could very easily be abused, and it obviously will be. They always start with the excuse that is for the children, so they can put their dirty hands into our phones without our knowledge. Typical, says Ranger Maine. I like how they're using a very bad situation to justify the use of invasion of privacy. Sickening. That's true. Let's see here. Interested to hear what Apple has to say about this whole controversy in the next month's keynote, if they even bring it up at all. They'll probably just double down on their other pro-privacy initiatives, at which point I'll tune in. I wouldn't be surprised at all if Apple delays the introduction of their iCloud surveillance feature until some future iOS release a few months from now. Pushing it off to iOS 150.2 would be better. How about never? Apple should not have hashes of anything on my phone. Period. There goes the entire Apple good for privacy narrative they built in the last 5 years. Yep, totally idiotic and unbelievable. These are the comments from the Apple users, and Apple must have an ear for this. Now, Apple claims they have a system in place that only targets images and uploads which might be harmful for children, but I don't believe that for a second. We know with the NSA that it was supposed to be for the terrorists, but we know how that turned out.
And both Apple and Android devices, unfortunately, are not especially good in protecting your privacy.
The truth is, Apple is using this as an excuse to spy on you, to get in on the back door by saying, how can you be against protecting children? That's their narrative. And for those who say Apple and other tech companies won't give out information to the government, or even foreign governments, remember one thing, they are only in this for the money. There are more than 1 billion iPhones, active iPhones, worldwide. You get the picture. Let's see this Apple privacy letter. On August 5th, 2021, Apple announced new technological measures meant to apply across virtually all its devices under the umbrella of expanded protections for children. While child exploitation is a serious problem, and while efforts to combat it are almost unquestionably well-intended, Apple's proposal introduces a backdoor that threatens to undermine fundamental privacy protections for all users of Apple products. The Electronic Frontier Foundation has said that Apple is opening the door to broader abuses. It's impossible to build a client-side scanning system that can only be used for sexual explicit images sent or received by children. As a consequence, even a well-intended effort to build such a system will break key promise of the messenger's encryption itself and open the door to broader abuses. That's not a slippery slope. That's a fully built system just waiting for external pressure to make the slightest change. The Center for Democracy and Technology has said that it is deeply concerning that Apple's changes in fact create new risks to children and all users and mark a significant departure from long-held privacy and protection protocols. Apple is replacing its industry standard end-to-end encrypted messaging system with an infrastructure for surveillance and censorship, which will be vulnerable to abuse and scope creep not only in the US but around the world, says Greg Nojame, co-director of CDT's Security and Surveillance Project. Apple should abandon these changes and restore its users' faith in the security and integrity of their data on Apple devices and services. Dr. Carmela Troncoso, a leading research expert in security and privacy and professor at EPFL in Lausanne, Switzerland, has said that Apple's new detector for child sexual abuse material, CSAM, is promoted under the umbrella of child protection and privacy. It is a firm step towards prevalent surveillance and control. Dr. Matthew D. Green, another leading research expert in security and privacy and professor at Johns Hopkins University in Baltimore, Maryland, has said that yesterday we were gradually headed towards a future where less and less of our information had to be under control and review of anyone but ourselves. For the first time since the 1990s, we were taking our privacy back. Today, we're on a different path, adding, the pressure is going to come from the UK, from the US, from India, from China. I'm terrified about what that's going to look like. Why Apple would want to tell the world, hey, we've got this tool. Dr. Nadim Kabeshi, a researcher in security and privacy issues, warned, Apple sells iPhones without FaceTime in Saudi Arabia because local regulation prohibits encrypted phone calls. That's just one example of many where Apple bent to local pressure. What happens when local regulations in Saudi Arabia mandate that messages be scanned not for child sexual abuse, but for homosexuality or offenses against the monarchy? And the tech companies want us to be predictable, and they need to be better and better to compete with each other. Maybe this would be the thing that makes us wake up. Maybe there'll be some new company that recognizes the importance of privacy and free speech. And I dare to say people will jump on that train. There's no doubt. What do you think? How important the privacy is for you? State your opinion in the comment section. Don't forget to subscribe and see you soon.